Okay, what I want to do is I want to go over some jigging out here on the lake. I was waiting for the right time of year to do this video here. So in relation to where we're at, so there's two different types of jigging. First, there's winter jigging and then there's summer jigging. During the summer, I like to target structure. During the winter, I just target schools of bait. So here you can see on the depth, or actually on the GPS, we have a hump right here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start in about like 17, 18 foot of water and kind of circle around this hump and fish that structure on that hump. Now it comes up to 11 foot in the middle and drops to about 23 on the sides to 30 foot or so. So that's the type of stuff I'm hitting during the summer. Now during the winter, I would just look for, you know, seagulls out there that's hitting bait. But my main concern is bait during the winter. I'll just concentrate on schools of bait fish. So let's get started here. I'll kind of show you what I mean. Your electronics are key with jigging here. Okay, and by the way, I'm Chad Harmon. I am with Ohio Musky Guide Service, and we're going to do some jigging now. So what we're going to be using here are Bondi baits. I like white a lot. I put a brand new one on here, so hopefully we get some teeth marks in this puppy. My other one wore out to the point where the harness was coming out of it. So I am running a solid stainless, or a solid single strand leader on there with a swivel at the top and a double clasping snap right there. They are made by Trophy Time leaders. They're about, I think they're 170 to 200 pound test. And the main point of that is when you're going up and down, it keeps your leader from dipping down into your bait. Okay, so I'll kind of give you the basics here, what we're doing. So again, concentrating on the depth finder here. I'm gonna drop it down to where I can see it on the depth finder. You guys see it on the depth finder right there? That was the line going down. Okay, and now it's going to look like a heartbeat for us here. That's me with the jig going up and down. That's actually a fish above it. Just rise up on them. Okay, so when you're jigging, what I'm doing is basically just steadily going up and down. When I'm going down, I do not want slack in my line going down. Okay, I want to feel that jig all the way down to the bottom the whole time. Okay? Usually, here in Ohio at least, fish, they like to hit on the drop. If you just have slack in your line going down, you're not going to feel that fish hit. They don't hit that hard. Sometimes they do, but not very often. They just feel like a crappie thumping it. Just a thump, and that's all you're feeling on that drop. And every so often, they'll hit on the rise and about rip your rod out of the hand, or just the rod out of your hand. So this is the main thing we're doing here. There's a lot of fish that's moved deep now. Water temp 77. You guys can see on the depth finder there. And again, you see my jig there, and we're coming across the fish right there. So what I'm looking for on here are arcs on the depth finder that are musky. And what the musky will do, as you're watching your jig, is they will come up behind your jig there and they will plane off behind your jig. Basically that arc will even out to a flat line coming up behind your jig. Right there's a fish. Doesn't look like they have too much interest right there. We're in about 18 foot of water, and again, I'm just circling around this hump. And I try to keep my trolling motor moving the whole time. So I'm covering different parts of the hump. I do not stand still when I jig, as far as keeping the boat still. There's some guys that do. That's just not how I do it. And my way of looking at it, I'm covering more water, moving the boat around, and targeting different fish that might be active. So I try and cover the entire drop off. So when I see fish up high, I lift my rod up and I try to put it into the fish's face. You guys see what I'm doing there? I brought that way up on there. It looks like we spooked the fish. But that's okay. A lot of times when you come up on them fish, they'll just hit it out of reaction. And that's really what we're going for, that reaction bite on them coming up. But really with a jig, all it's really doing is basically just irritating the fish into biting. And that's what we're going for. Looks like a school bait there with maybe a fish in it. I think it's just a big school bait. If that's a musky, we want that one. So we kind of lost our jig there in the depth finder. So you need to find out where your sweet spot is on your depth finder here, on the location of where it is on the boat and where you have your jig at. Okay? And what we're going to do is we try to keep it in that sweet spot, and that way we can see it on the depth finder the whole time. And that's the cool thing about jigging. It's almost just like a video game. Not that I play video games, but it's kind of like playing one. It's just you're watching it go up and down on it, watching it going up and down, and then you'll see one of those arcs just playing out behind it there. Those are the main things I'm looking at. So we'll just jig here for a while and see if we can get something on camera for you guys. We're out in 30 foot. We're gonna drop back in on this point again. There's one. Planed out a little bit on it. You'll get a lot of lookers doing this, and when I first started jigging, I guess I didn't realize that's what that was actually musky behind it following it. You really need to trust your electronics when you do this stuff. Me, I'm a Lowrance guy. It's a Ford Chevy kind of thing. You know, you can run your Humminbirds or Garmin's or Lowrances. They're all pretty decent. So as long as it picks that jig up good and the fish up, that's what we're concerned about. One way up high, pull that up on it. We're coming off that drop again, so we'll go back in on it. And on my jigs, I'm doing about like 4 foot sweeps or so. You don't need to do like anything drastic like 6 foot or 7 foot on a sweep of the rod. Just 3 or 4 foot. Nothing jerky about it. Just slow and steady. There we come up on the drop again. Not a ton of followers on there today. We just need that one active fish though. But that's how I gauge spots and if I'm sticking on them or not this time of year jigging, is how many fish are following on it. If I don't see any followers, I just kind of move on to another point. Good school bait there. Now, there's been fish up high too in these bait pods.